Today we're talking about our favorite independent watch brands, giving some love to the independents before we head to Watches and Wonders in Geneva.
This is going to be our last predictions video,
Last
right?
predictions. So we have some insight naturally as to what's happening with the brands. So we're going to give you some teasers, but also kind of predict what we think the independent brands are going to be up to in 2025. Let's start with Parmigiani Fleurier, one of our favorites.
Absolutely.
Now, last year we saw a huge announcement from them bringing back the Toric, and they've kind of been on this tour of reinventing older models, more historical models for the brand, and bringing them to modern day. So that was really exciting. I don't know if we're going to see something big again. What do you think?
I think they're going to flesh out the Toric.
Okay.
It was hugely successful, and I've unabashedly said I think it's one of the best three-hand watches ever made.
Wasn't it one of your favorite watches of the show last year?
It was breathtakingly, it was word-takingly good. I mean, I talk about watches for a living, and that watch stole my words.
Yeah.
That's really cool, and that doesn't happen to me very often. I was literally awestruck by that watch.
And we just did a deep dive of the Toric, so we'll link that for you. It's a really great video if you want to learn more about it.
I would love to see a couple different colorways.
Yes.
They were really sneaky. They just did a really small drop right before the show. They did a micro rotor PF they called it Stone Blue, the Stone Blue Dial in Platinum. I was fortunate enough, a good friend of mine, hi Greg, had to have one. So I actually got one in. I either had the first or the second one in the US. Got it for a good friend of mine, and that watch was phenomenal.
I didn't even see it.
It was in and out. It was gone.
Yeah.
That dial color was particularly good. It was a lighter blue than we've seen. They've always done that Milano blue, that darker blue. So, again, just hoping to wish things into existence. Platinum Toric with something along that color dial
Stone Blue
would
dial.
be a game changer.
The colors for Parmigiani Fleurier are so thoughtful and so unique. They all have
mid-century modern.
Mid-century modern feel, but I mean, everything about the brand is just so like delightful and so satisfying. And Golden Sienna is my favorite color they've ever done.
Yeah, it's a beautiful watch. Now, are they going to do it again? Will they be able to blow me out of the water with a complication that didn't before exist?
Yeah.
I don't have any insight on that for you. I'm hoping they do because that's been so much fun. I mean, we look so forward to going to see our friends.
Could they evolve that Rattrapant in any other way?
They made two complications I never even contemplated before. So could they? Yeah, absolutely. In a way that I have no idea what they're going to do. An hour Rattrapant.
You're excited, so I'm getting excited. I think what I'm also most excited for is. But we know for sure that the Parmigiani Fleurier presentation at Watches and Wonders will be relaxing.
Yeah.
It's always
serene.
really nice and they're serene. They have this fantastic candle. It's like one of the best smells I've ever smelled, made especially for them. And their espresso bar.
Juxtaposed with their espresso.
Yeah, so we go in there and it's all relaxing and it's nice. And then there's these beautiful watches. So it's always a 10 out of 10 experience. I'm so excited.
Moving on, our friends at Gerald Charles.
Yes. Gerald Charles, newer brand in the watch world, but you should be familiar with the name. It came from Gerald Genta. It was his last brand. So he sold the rights to his name. He was making watches on the side just for friends, one-off really high-end pieces. And that became the brand Gerald Charles. Kind of sold the rights to a dear friend of his. Now he and his son are launching the brand globally. Just came to the U.S. in the last couple of years.
Yeah, we were, if not one of the first authorized dealers for the brand. Fell in love with it right off the bat.
George is very on the trends.
Yeah. It's funny. We have two jobs here. We're chasing markets in some cases, the pre-owned market, things like that, and then we're trying to make markets. Find these little brands that we really dig and tell you about them. And Gerald Charles definitely dovetails into that second part of it.
So I think the biggest thing to think about with Gerald Charles, they say they have this massive design lexicon for all of Gerald Genta's sketches. I mean, hundreds, if not thousands of sketches from him, all different sort of watch designs. They launched with the Maestro, which is kind of a sports watch. It's really interesting because the top and the bottom don't match. Bottom has a little smile.
The asymmetric case is absolutely,
Do you think they'll launch a new design collection?
That's hard to say. I think they need to continue in the same vein that they are. I don't want them breaking out of the mold too quickly. They did the Masterlink last year. Fabulous watch. I would like to see them flesh this out a little bit more.
Okay.
The bracelet's phenomenal. Maybe do a chrono version, something like that. They did promise us one new complication a year, but they did that Ducati piece.
Right, which was end of the year.
Limited edition jump hour, kind of end of the year, so I don't know if that counts or not. Normally, we try to reserve our first day in Geneva just to like kind of get on their time and kind of take a break. They have this really cool atelier right next to the Four Seasons. It's on the top floor. It's fabulous. If I'm going to break that rule, it's going to be to come see those guys.
With a very cool museum and lots of historical
the whole Gerald
pieces,
Charles Museum there. It's watching nerd heaven. So
well, at the end of this year, they released a stone dial, very limited release.
You're right.
And I think that's going to kind of be the theme for independence this year in 2025. I think another brand we're going to speak of has kind of hinted that a stone dial might be coming.
Okay.
I think we saw it from Gerald Charles.
Yeah.
It's a move that independent brands can make, I think, because they have more flexibility to jump on it, maybe a little more access to resources to create it, because you would explain a little bit. It's really hard to make a stone dial.
Oh,
right?
It's incredibly hard. Yeah. These are what we call high failure rate dials. Stone is hard and brittle. It's like a meteorite dial or anything else. Even mother of pearl. You have these fine sheets, and any wrong torque can shatter it, and then you're just done. So you hope for 20%. 1 out of 5 makes it into a watch. It's crazy.
Right. And speaking of a brand that might be doing a very cool stone dial this year, but I'm not going to say yet, Arnold and Son.
Arnold and Son is so innovative, so in front of everything. Technically not an independent, but they certainly act like one.
Yeah.
They just do some of the most beautiful watches, full stop. My side of the counter, I mean, half my job is done. You walk up to that case and you go, that's awesome, and you don't even know why.
Right, it really is an easy sell.
They're coming out with that collaborative piece between telling the history of the tourbillon as far as Breguet's relationship with John Arnold.
Great friends,
Great
right?
friends.
I think John Arnold helped him out with the tourbillon.
There'll be a new material, I'm thinking, in that something really upend like that, because they're doing such good work in that space where few others dare to go. I mean these are 6-figure watches. These are not for the meek, and these guys are just absolutely slaying that end of the market. So I'd like to see more work with that.
Beautifully hand finished for that price point. And finally, let's talk about Bremont, a brand that's been really fun to follow over the last couple of years because they're really reinventing themselves. Not to steal George's words, but a brand we feel like is doing everything right. We just had a cool release from them, a new bronze material.
Yeah.
And I think we're seeing a couple bronze releases from the independents, which is fun because that's always been a very popular Panerai that's very hard to get your hands on. We have some insider scoop from Bremont that I'm not sure we can talk about yet.
All I'm going to say is the few things I've seen from Bremont are going to help the guys from my side of the counter kind of tell the story. There was a big rift between the old school and the new school, and there's a discordance there. The new stuff you're going to see this year is going to help us bridge the gap between the brothers and the current company. So I'm really excited about that. There's one piece in particular I cannot wait to show you guys because I think it's going to be an absolute monster for them.
Telling the right story and doing all the right things. George, any final thoughts before we head to Geneva?
So excited to go. And a little bit of the fun, we do a lot of these predictions, and one thing we don't predict is what we're not going to see. And I think that's some of the fun for me, just on a personal note. It's seeing all the new stuff, but seeing what doesn't show up there too, because sometimes that can help tell a story as well. So it'll be very, very interesting, and we're so excited to take you guys along.
To learn more about all these brands, you can check out other videos on our channel. Head to our website. You can shop live inventory at oliversmithjeweler.com. Leave us a comment below. What do you think you want to see this year for 2025? And make sure to tune in when we are live from Geneva.